With Capital Farm Credit and let us finance your way of life. Stop by any of our Big Country area offices and find a loan that's right for you. Start your day right with KTXS This Morning. From the facts you may have missed overnight and the forecasts that affect your day, Mari and Anthony bring the information you need to get ahead of the day. KTXS This Morning, weekday morning starting at 5:30.
Welcome back. As we mentioned earlier, the city of Abilene receives its water from 3 sources. We get the most water from Hubbard Creek Reservoir, with O.H. Ivy being second. We recently traveled to O.H. Ivy to see how the reservoir is holding up and talked to a frequent visitor of the lake. O.H. Ivy is currently Abilene's second source for water. This reservoir has a large holding capacity, but it doesn't get a pass from the effects of our current drought situation.
It's getting bad.
It's getting bad.
But it's holding its own.
Jack Griffin has been coming to O.H. Ivy since the early 90s when the reservoir was built. He says he comes for the fishing and tries to put his boat in the water every chance he gets. Though this time last year, water levels were slightly lower, significant improvement in levels have not been seen since 2007. Local waterfowl and fish may not see an impact in the lake levels, but the landscape around the lake tells a different story. As you can see, the bank of the lake sits high up compared to where the water level currently sits. Those trees off in the distance should be underwater. The biggest question that remains unanswered and uncertain to many is, will we ever see a completely full lake again?
That's a good question. I hope so. It's going to take some good rains.
Watching the weather, Hayden, KTXS News.
There is one Texan who has made water his top priority, and to ensure that the future state of Texas water can provide for all of its residents. We spoke with Jim Keffer, District 60 state representative, to see how he feels about the current situation and what's being done.
Well, I mean, obviously, 2011 was the year of the drought, but it lingers. And so it's something that I think water for the state of Texas as a policy issue is going to be there with us forever, especially with our state looking to double in, 2040 or 50, I can't remember exactly, but another 26 million people wanting to move into Texas. So we've got to have the infrastructure. And, yeah, the climatologists are telling us that the drought is still with us and it's going to be with us for the foreseeable future. You know, we are just now starting to map the brackish water under our state, and we are blessed with huge aquifers of brackish water that before now was just waste. I mean, it was just there, and nobody even paid attention to it. But now it's solid gold.
You may have heard Keffer mention that we might be standing right on top of our next solution. Brackish water has a little salt mixed in it, so steps need to be taken for it to become drinkable. Research is currently underway to see how that can be done.
So how does a community get access to a reliable source of water? Let's take a look at the politics of surface water.
Texas manages water supplies. All surface water in Texas belongs to the state of Texas. And so you don't own the water. You get a permit or a water right from the state to use their water. And they manage water based on the river basin.
As a property owner, according to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, you can still build a small pond or tank on your property as long as you are not blocking a navigable waterway and it holds less than 200 acre-feet of water. Otherwise, you have to go to the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to get a permit to retain that water. There are 3 major ways to get surface water for a community. First, you can build your own reservoir, like the city of Abilene did with Lake Fort Phantom in the 1930s. The second way is you can join with other cities to build a reservoir and share the cost and the water, like Hubbard Creek Reservoir. The West Central Texas Municipal Water District was created by Abilene, Anson, Albany, and Breckenridge in response to the drought of the 1950s. Wayne Lisenby says Abilene has the rights to about 70% of the water yield in Hubbard, but there are agreements to protect the water supplies of the other 3 cities.
We feel confident that we will be backing out of Hubbard at an appropriate time to make sure that those 3 communities still have a viable water supply option.
The third way is to buy water from another group that already has built a reservoir like OHIV. The Colorado River Municipal Water District was created by member cities of Snyder, Odessa, and Big Spring in the 1940s. This water district manages the water resources of Lake J.B. Thomas, E.V. Spence Reservoir, and OHIV Reservoir. The city of Abilene has a contract with the Colorado River Municipal Water District to buy about 16% of the water in OHIV for the life of the reservoir. San Angelo also draws between 9 and 30 million gallons a day from Ivy.
But not all the water gathered by Abilene stays in Abilene. 13 other cities or water districts buy their treated drinking water from Abilene. The drought is hitting Lake Stamford especially hard. Biologists say it's now responsible for killing the fish in Lake Stamford. As KTXS reporter Will Jensen found out, it might take some businesses down with it.
The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department is calling this an active fish kill. You can see it's affecting different sizes of fish and several different species. And for at least one business here who depends on this lake to survive, it's having a devastating financial impact. At the Anchor, a bait shop and RV park on Lake Stamford, you hear the birds instead of what you'd usually hear this time of year, people enjoying the water.
This is the swimming area.
Right here, huh?
Yep, all of this.
We took a walk with the Anchor's owner to get a perspective as to just how hard the droughts hit here.
It's very sad. I used to spend my days watching people have fun, and now I'm here all alone.
And he rolled around, the dirty rat.
Alone, except for a couple of fishermen along the shore, braving the smell of dead fish. Biologists say high salt levels in the water are causing a toxic golden alga bloom, making fish suffocate. They say we need at least 4 inches of rain to fix it, or the entire fish population is at risk.
So really what we need is a really good, long, prolonged rain to actually dilute that toxin and get those native algae species to reproduce and outcompete that golden algae.
How long are you going to be able to stay here with your business?
I don't know. I'm just hanging on by my fingernails, waiting to see what happens.
Melissa here says she's caught 2 fish so far today, and that's fairly normal. In fact, she says she hasn't really seen much of an impact from this fish kill, aside from the dead fish on the ground. But game wardens say if the fish kill continues, or we don't get more rain soon, that will be a different story. On Lake Stamford, Will Jensen, KTXS News.
Biologists say the toxins in the water are not dangerous for people or animals to drink. Hayden?
Thanks, Mark. When we come back, with a lack of water and little rain, what can you do to keep your yard alive? We'll look at 2 ways when we return.
Did you know your morning routine can have a big impact on how much water you're using? If you plug the sink instead of letting water run while you're shaving, you can save up to 300 gallons a month. When you're brushing your teeth, turn off the water. A family of 4 can save up to 200 gallons a week by doing this. Don't go anywhere running dry or need for water. We'll be right back.
I once heard that land is a timeless investment. It can also be a weekend retreat, a hunter's paradise, a farmer's livelihood, and a refreshing place to raise your kids. Capital Farm Credit is a member-owned lending cooperative specializing in land financing. Our lending staff understands agriculture and country living and can make your dream of land ownership a reality. So my question is, why not Capital Farm Credit? We're the answer.
Grow with Capital Farm Credit and let us finance your way of life. Stop by any of our Big Country area offices and find a loan that's right for you.
There's no doubt about it, weather affects our lives. That's why it's so important to know what lies ahead. And that's our job, figuring out what the new day brings, to always keep you informed, to keep you safe.
KTXS, alerting you to weather danger.
Just a few miles north of the city, we find ourselves at Lake Fort Phantom Hill, one of Abilene's water sources. Hayden takes us there.
In some places, the scene of Phantom looks like most other lakes you see around the area, drying up. Stumps which were at the bottom of the lake are now seeing sunshine. Tire tracks show local fishermen have to drive onto the dry lake bed to even reach the water's edge. Currently, the lake sits around 30% full. In recent months, actions have been put into place to ensure that the lake continues to see water being added to it.
We have short-term and long-term strategies for how we're going to address the ongoing drought. Short-term being in the near future, we have brought the advanced treatment plant on at Hamby, where we can now start discharging some of our reclaimed water back into Phantom.
Wayne Lisenby, Assistant Director of Water Utilities, says that reclaimed water is about 7 million gallons a day.
Our daily average right now is about 21 million gallons a day, so about a third of our consumption we'll be putting back into Phantom. That will be a significant help, considering how we haven't seen any substantial rainfall in the last couple of years.
This plan that has been put into action won't solve all of our water problems, but it will help reduce the strain that dry conditions have put on Lake Fort Phantom Hill. Hayden Nix, KTXS News.
A Brown County man is ahead of the game, at least when it comes to water. KTXS reporter Gabriela Hernandez has the facts on how he's not as worried about the ongoing drought.
While most ranchers are waiting for the rain, Larry Neves only needs it to rain every so often for the water to meet his needs. Neves and his wife Peggy made a $70,000 investment 5 years ago in a rainwater harvesting system that he says has turned out to be more than worth it.
It sounds like a huge initial cost, and it was a pretty good size chunk of money. I mean, it's not what you take and toss away and don't expect to get a return on. But if we were having to fill all these tanks and keep all these animals with water and pay, you know, through public utilities, we'd be spending a heck of a lot more. Located across his 700 acres of land, Neves has one 65,000-gallon tank and more than 10 1,500-gallon tanks to not only provide water to his animals, but also to use for irrigation purposes. Rainwater harvesting can also be used for those in town to collect water for lawns and gardens.
A landscape is just part of human nature. So if nothing else, some of the 55-gallon landscape or rainwater collection barrels, they're not hard to make, and for approximately $55 you could buy the materials and make one yourself.
Reporting from Brooksmith, Gabriela Hernandez, KTXS News.
Are you worried about your lawn now that the city of Abilene is imposing tougher watering restrictions? There are some things you can do to keep things alive and still conserve water. Water. It's on everyone's mind as Stage 2 water restrictions are upon us. With our water problems, you may be thinking about putting in some low-maintenance landscaping, such as xeriscaping. It is a type of landscaping that uses drought-resistant plants that require little water or maintenance. Expanding your current flower beds is also another option. You can incorporate different types of textures and xeriscape plants to minimize yard space. Not only can you plant drought-resistant grass, shrubs, and plants, you can also check and make sure your sprinkler heads are working properly, and this drip irrigation is dripping.
One of the first things that we would recommend is checking your sprinkler system time clock. We need to make sure that that clock is running within the restrictions, otherwise you could get fined.
After checking the timer, it is recommended that you spot check each zone in your water system for leaks and broken heads. Once you're done checking, tweaking your watering times to reduce wasting water is important.
Key thing is to make sure that you know if it's a front yard area next to a curb, after 10 minutes you're going to have water runoff. Have it so that it shuts down, let it soak in, then you can restart and run another cycle.
So there are several options to help conserve water in these dry times. If redoing your landscaping is not in your budget, adjusting sprinkler times will help save money and water. In Abilene, I'm KTXS meteorologist Hayden Nix.
Thanks for watching Running Dry, our need for water.
It could take many months and even years for our reservoirs to rise to healthy levels.
The best we can do is continue to conserve water and pray for rain. As always, stick with KTXS for updates on water and drought situations as well as in severe weather situations. Have a good night.
Grow with Capital Farm Credit and let us finance your way of life. Stop by any of our Big Country area offices and find a loan that's right for you.
Do you dream of watching the sun go down over the horizon of your very own country getaway? Well, my friends at Capital Farm Credit can make that dream a reality. Capital Farm Credit provides competitive financing for many types of residential home loans, including new construction, existing homes, and home sites. When it's time to turn your dream into a reality, why not Capital Farm Credit? We're the answer.
If you have more information about any story you've seen on K-Texas, please email us at news@ktxs.com. K-Texas, getting the facts right.
Agriculture is the backbone of America, and Capital Farm Credit has financed this extremely important industry for nearly a century. We embrace our cooperative structure and return almost 100% of our earnings to our members. Capital Farm Credit is in the business of helping your agricultural operations succeed. We can loan you money for your farm or ranch, livestock, equipment, and operating expenses. So my question is, why not Capital Farm Credit? We're the answer.